The pulsar star cast a flickering light over Arcadia, the space station that seemed to hang motionless among the stars. As the nerve center of the Galactic Council, Arcadia was a marvel of engineering and cooperation, where the architectures of countless civilizations blended into a magnificent tapestry of form and function. Bioluminescent gardens, illuminated walkways with natural light, while gravity-defying structures soared into the station's transparent dome, offering unobstructed views of the void beyond. On board, the air was thick with anticipation as delegates from across the galaxy arrived for the Centennial Summit. The station buzzed with a variety of languages and colors, as species of all shapes and sizes, some humanoid, others not, communicated and negotiated, their voices a symphony of the galaxy's diversity. Among them was Captain Alara Miles, a human and the commander of the Earth delegation's security team. At 34, Alara was younger than many of her peers, yet she carried herself with a confidence earned through years of navigating the delicate intricacies of interstellar diplomacy. Her role required a blend of tact and alertness, qualities that were vital in a place where alliances were as fluid as the nebulae surrounding the station. The first day of the summit was marked by opening speeches, but none were more anticipated, or feared, than that of Counselor Threx, the presiding officer of the Galactic Council. Threx was a Zelthorian, a species known for their elongated limbs and psychic abilities. At 167 years old, he was considered young by his species standards, but held a significant sway over the Council's decisions. As Threx stepped onto the podium, his eyes swept over the crowd, his gaze lingering on the human delegation with a barely concealed disdain. Alara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She knew the importance of this speech, not just for her team but for all of humanity. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings, Threx began, his voice echoing through the chamber. Today we stand at a crossroads. The galaxy is changing, and we must decide who will lead us into the future and who will not. His words were diplomatic, but his message was clear as he continued. It is my solemn duty to address the elephant in the room, the question of humanity's place in our council. Despite their recent advances, humans remain a young and frankly inferior species. A murmur ran through the chamber. Alara's heart raced. She had expected hostility, but the blunt deprecation from Threx was a direct attack on their status. They are not ready for the technologies we possess, nor are they capable of handling deeper integration into our political structures, Threx declared, his voice rising with each word. Alara glanced around, noting the reactions of the other delegates. Some nodded in agreement, while others looked uncomfortable or curious. She knew this was a calculated move by Threx, likely to sway the Council on upcoming votes regarding technological sharing and military alliances. As the speech concluded, the hall erupted in whispered conversations and heated debates. Alara knew this was the beginning of a critical and challenging summit for her and her delegation, but she was determined to prove Threx wrong, and to secure humanity's rightful place among the stars. As the delegates dispersed, Alara's mind raced with plans and possibilities. The fight for humanity's future had just begun, and she was at the heart of it. The repercussions of Counselor Threx's bold declaration were immediate. In the corridors and meeting rooms of Arcadia, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Various delegates expressed their views loudly, some endorsing Threx's stance with fervor, while others whispered their concerns and disbelief. Captain Alara Miles navigated these turbulent waters with a composed demeanor. The weight of Threx's words hung heavily on her shoulders. This was more than a diplomatic spat. It was a direct challenge to humanity's position within the Galactic Council. Alara knew she had to act swiftly to counteract the negative image painted by Threx. With the first session of the summit adjourned, Alara began to reach out to other delegates. Her approach was methodical and discreet, aiming to gauge the sentiment of other species and gather support for humanity. Alara's first meeting was with Ambassador Lur, a representative from the aquatic planet Hydronus. Lur's people were known for their balanced views and had shared trade relations with Earth. The meeting took place in one of Arcadia's serene water gardens, where bioluminescent algae cast a soft glow over the flowing water. "Captain Miles," Lyr greeted, his voice a soothing flow much like the waters of his home world. "I must admit I was taken aback by the harshness of Threx's words today." Alara nodded, appreciating Lyr's straightforwardness. "Thank you, Ambassador. I believe it's crucial for us to look beyond such divisive rhetoric. Humanity has much to offer, and we are eager to prove our commitment to galactic harmony." Their conversation delved into potential collaborative projects that could showcase human innovation and reliability, laying the groundwork for a partnership that might sway other delegates in favor of Earth. As the summit progressed, Alara met with other key figures, including Tavok from the technologically advanced planet Vulcanus and Mira from the warrior race of Kregan. Each meeting was a step toward undermining the seeds of doubt Threx had sown, with Alara emphasizing humanity's achievements and their capacity for growth. These interactions were challenging, requiring Alara to be diplomatic yet assertive. She found herself not only defending humanity's technological capabilities, but also advocating for their unique perspective on universal issues, from trade to security. By the end of the day, the mood among Alara's newfound allies was cautiously optimistic. They had begun to see beyond Threx's prejudice, intrigued by the potential benefits of closer ties with humanity. Alara returned to her quarters late that evening, mentally exhausted but resolved. She spent the night poring over datapads filled with information on each delegate's voting history and political leanings. Her team worked alongside her, strategizing their next moves. They developed tailored pitches for each delegate, focusing on mutual interests and long-term benefits. As she prepared for the next day, Alara knew that the real work was just beginning. The challenge was monumental, but so were the stakes. Humanity's future in the Council was not just about political standing, but about securing a voice in the galaxy's most crucial decisions. Alara went to bed with a plan taking shape, one that could potentially turn the tide in their favor. She was not just fighting for humanity's pride, she was fighting for its survival and respect in the eyes of the galaxy. In the days following Threx's incendiary speech, Captain Alara Miles shifted her focus from diplomatic schmoozing to something much more perilous, uncovering the truth behind Threx's motives. Suspicious of his vehement stance against humanity, Alara and her security team began a quiet investigation into the Councilor's recent activities and affiliations. Their first break came from a junior delegate from Threx's own delegation, who, disillusioned by the Councilor's manipulative tactics, agreed to meet with Alara in secret. In the dim light of a secluded lounge on Arcadia, the delegate handed over datapads filled with encrypted communications that hinted at Threx's involvement in a deeper, darker agenda. Threx has been in contact with factions known for their extremist views against newer members of the Council, the delegate whispered, glancing nervously around. He believes that keeping the Council purist with older species will maintain a certain balance, or so he claims. Alara listened intently, her mind racing as she considered the implications. If Threx was plotting to use his influence to destabilize the Council under the guise of preserving order, he could potentially orchestrate a galactic divide that would take decades to mend. Back at her quarters, Alara and her team worked tirelessly to decode the encrypted messages. Each line of code cracked widened their understanding of Threx's plan. It wasn't just rhetoric. Threx was actively working to undermine the Council's unity by seeding distrust towards humans and other newer species. The evidence pointed to a clandestine meeting scheduled to take place just before the final vote of the summit. The meeting was set in a rarely used conference room in one of Arcadia's lower levels, a perfect spot for plotting away from prying eyes. Determined to expose Threx, Alara decided to intercept the meeting. She coordinated with her team for a surveillance operation that would capture the conspiracy on record. The night before the clandestine meeting, as Alara reviewed the final details of her plan, an urgent alert from her security detail reached her. An intruder had breached her team's operational base. Reacting swiftly, Alara and her team rushed to the scene, only to be ambushed by armed assailants. A fierce skirmish ensued in the narrow corridors of the base. Alara, skilled in combat, managed to neutralize one of the attackers, but not without cost. A stray shot grazed her arm, a painful reminder of the stakes they were dealing with. Despite the chaos, Alara's team successfully apprehended one of the assailants, who later revealed under interrogation that the attack was indeed connected to Threx. The counselor had learned of Alara's probing and sent the attackers to stop her investigation permanently. This attempt on her life only strengthened Alara's resolve. With her suspicions now confirmed by the direct threat against her, she knew she had to act fast to prevent Threx from fracturing the Galactic Council from within. As dawn approached, Alara, wounded but undeterred, prepared to confront Threx's conspiracy head-on. The evidence they had gathered was explosive, capable of not only discrediting Threx, but also reshaping the power dynamics within the Council. With the final session of the summit looming, Alara was poised to expose the deceit, hoping to restore unity among the stars. The morning after the assassination attempt, Captain Alara Miles nursed her wounded arm, the physical pain a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows of the summit. Yet, with the final council session only hours away, there was no time to dwell on her injuries. Alara's resolve hardened. She was more determined than ever to expose Counselor Threx's machinations. In her quarters, Alara convened an emergency meeting with her closest advisors. The room was tense, the air filled with a mix of concern for Alara's well-being and the collective anticipation of the task ahead. "We have one shot at this," Alara began, her voice steady despite the throbbing in her arm. "Threx is desperate to keep his plans hidden, but we now have the evidence to bring his conspiracy to light. Today we change the course of this summit, and for humanity." Her team nodded, their faces set in grim determination. They reviewed the evidence one last time, a series of intercepted communications, testimonies from coerced allies of Threx, and video footage from last night's skirmish, all pointing to Threx's intent to destabilize the Council. With the final session approaching, Alara executed a two-pronged strategy. Firstly, she sent trusted team members to discreetly inform key delegates about the impending exposure of Threx's plot. This preemptive move was designed to mitigate the shock and sway the Council's opinion in favor of humanity. Secondly, Alara prepared to make a public disclosure during the Council session. Every word had to be precise. The timing had to be perfect. She rehearsed her speech meticulously, ensuring that her message was clear and irrefutable. As the delegates gathered for the session, the tension was palpable. Whispers filled the hall, the earlier circulated rumors about Threx's plot causing ripples of unrest among the assembly. Alara entered the hall, her posture upright, her gaze unwavering. As she took her place, her eyes met Threx's. The counselor's expression was a mask of calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. The session began with routine matters, but the atmosphere was anything but ordinary. Finally, the moment came for Alara to speak. She stood, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent hall. "Esteemed delegates," she started, her tone commanding attention. "We stand here today at a pivotal moment, not just for humanity, but for the integrity of this Galactic Council. Evidence has come to light, revealing a plot not just against my species, but against the unity of this Council." Alara proceeded to outline the evidence, each piece displayed on the screens around the hall. Murmurs grew louder as the implications became clear. Threx's face remained impassive, but around him, allies began to shift uncomfortably. The climax came when Alara presented the video of the previous night's attack, the identities of the assailants linked directly to Threx. "This Council cannot stand if its foundations are built on deception and coercion," Alara concluded, her voice resolute. The room erupted into chaos, with delegates clamoring for the floor. Threx attempted to speak, to deny the allegations, but the evidence was overwhelming. Calls for a vote rang out across the chamber. The vote was swift. One by one, delegates cast their votes, not just on the minor policies that were scheduled for the day, but on a motion of no confidence against Threx. When the tally came in, it was decisive. Threx was stripped of his position, and an investigation into his actions was ordered. As the gavel struck, signifying the end of the session, Alara allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. She had not only cleared humanity's name, but had also preserved the integrity of the Galactic Council. Alara's team gathered around her, their expressions one of relief and admiration. They had faced significant adversity, but emerged victorious through unity and perseverance. The fallout from the dramatic council session was immediate and far-reaching. With Councillor Threx removed from power and under investigation, the political landscape of the Galactic Council shifted dramatically. However, the victory was not yet complete for Captain Alara Miles. The final day of the summit awaited, and with it, a broader audience that needed to understand the full scope of Threx's betrayal. Alara spent the night preparing for what she anticipated to be one of the most crucial addresses of her career. With her team, she meticulously organized the evidence into a coherent narrative that highlighted not only Threx's wrongdoing, but the collective need for vigilance among the council members. As the delegates filed into the chamber the next morning, the atmosphere was one of tense expectation. Rumors of the previous day's upheaval had spread, and all eyes were on Alara as she stepped up to the podium. "Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings," Alara began, her voice clear and steady. "Yesterday, we took a necessary step toward cleansing our council of corruption. Today, I stand before you not only to shed light on the deceit we have uncovered, but to affirm our collective commitment to truth and integrity." Alara then presented the detailed evidence of Threx's conspiracy, from covert communications with radical factions to manipulations of council policies, to benefit those who shared his xenophobic ideologies. The presentation was punctuated by intercepted messages, financial records and testimony from those Threx had attempted to coerce. The delegates listened in rapt attention, many expressing shock and disbelief as the extent of Threx's network and plans were laid bare. Alara concluded her presentation with a powerful call to action. This council was founded on principles of unity and cooperation across species and systems, she declared. "Let us use this moment not just to condemn those who would betray these principles, but to reaffirm our dedication to them. Let us move forward, stronger and more united than ever." The speech was met with a standing ovation, a rare occurrence in the usually reserved council. Motions were quickly proposed and seconded to implement stricter oversight on council activities and to ensure more transparent communication channels between member species. A vote was called, and one by one, the delegates cast their ballots in favor of the new measures. The result was overwhelmingly positive. The measures passed with near unanimous support, marking a significant step toward rebuilding trust and strengthening the council's governance. Alara watched the proceedings with a sense of deep satisfaction mixed with relief. The challenges had been immense, but they had managed to turn a potential catastrophe into an opportunity for reform and renewal. As the summit drew to a close, there were informal gatherings and celebrations among the delegates. Alara was congratulated by many of her peers, who expressed their respect and gratitude for her courage and leadership. However, the victory was not without its burdens. Alara knew that the days ahead would require just as much diligence and determination as the ones past. The council was in a period of transition, and her role in shaping its future would be crucial. Returning to her quarters, Alara took a moment to gaze out at the stars beyond Arcadia. The galaxy was vast, filled with challenges and opportunities alike. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever came next with the same resilience and integrity that had brought her this far. As the station slowly rotated, the stars seemed to twinkle in approval of the path she had chosen, a path of steadfast dedication to justice and unity. The resolution of the crisis at the Galactic Council brought not only a profound sense of relief to Captain Alara Miles, but also a swelling pride in what humanity could achieve. As the final session of the summit concluded, a palpable sense of hope permeated Arcadia. Delegates from countless worlds mingled, their conversations imbued with a newfound respect and optimism for the future. Ilara, though exhausted from the events of the past days, felt invigorated by the outpouring of support and camaraderie. Celebrations erupted throughout the station, with impromptu gatherings in the many lounges and halls of Arcadia. Amid the festivities, Ilara was a figure of quiet dignity, receiving congratulations and words of gratitude from various species, many of whom had been skeptical of humanity's place in the Council just days before. The aftermath of the summit was a time for reflection and planning. With the conspiracy thwarted and Threx removed from power, there was much work to be done to ensure such a betrayal would never happen again. Ilara was deeply involved in discussions about new policies and reforms. The Council was eager to implement changes that would strengthen their unity and prevent corruption. In these sessions, Ilara advocated for increased transparency in Council dealings and a more inclusive approach to policymaking, ensuring that all member species had a voice. Her proposals were met with enthusiasm, as many delegates were shaken by how close they had come to a divisive catastrophe. Ilara also met privately with representatives of newly admitted Council species, sharing insights and advice on navigating the complex waters of galactic politics. Her experience and recent actions had made her a respected figure, and her guidance was sought after by many. As the delegates prepared to depart Arcadia, a special session was convened to reaffirm their commitment to the principles of the Galactic Council. Ilara was asked to speak, an honor that she accepted with humble acknowledgement of her team and the brave delegate who had first come forward with information about Threx's plans. Standing before the assembly, Ilara spoke not just as a representative of humanity, but as a guardian of the Council's integrity. Let this chapter in our history remind us of our responsibilities to each other and the ideals we strive to uphold, she declared. Together we have faced adversity and emerged stronger. Let us carry forward this spirit of unity and vigilance as we continue to build a peaceful and prosperous galaxy. The delegates responded with robust applause, their faces marked by determination and hope. The session closed with a formal renewal of the Council's charter, each member pledging to uphold its values and work towards a collective good. As the summit ended and the delegates departed, Ilara took a moment to herself, standing at a viewport, watching as ships dispersed across the starlit cosmos. She contemplated the road ahead. The galaxy was vast, and its challenges were many, but she felt ready to meet them with the same courage and conviction she had shown at the summit. Returning to her quarters, Ilara penned a message to her superiors on Earth, outlining the outcomes of the summit and the steps ahead. Her report was not just a summary of events, but a testament to human resilience and diplomacy. With a sense of duty and optimism, Ilara prepared for her journey back to Earth. The Council's future was uncertain, but under the guiding stars, she knew humanity would play a pivotal role in shaping it.